The number of diagnosed autistics is on the rise. But is it still possible that over half of autistic adults are undiagnosed? Well, according to a 2023 study from University College of London, that's exactly what they are predicting, that over half of autistic adults are undiagnosed. How is it possible for so many adults, including myself, to go unnoticed for so many years? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. Some ways that autistic adults go unnoticed and undiagnosed, sometimes for decades. I believe the last reason I'm going to talk about is the biggest reason, but I'll get to that one later. So why do so many autistic adults go undetected? I'm going to give you 6 reasons. Autistic masking. The first reason that autism can go unnoticed is because of how well many autistics can mask, especially those who need less support. Autistic masking is the practice of an autistic person to hide autistic tendencies, either consciously or subconsciously, in order to fit in with society and not draw attention to themselves. Basically, it's an attempt to appear normal, whatever that means. This is something that I can do really, really well. And this is a huge reason that my autism went unnoticed for over 40 years. When I'm out and about, I can appear really, really social. It might even seem like I'm having the best day ever. I can make people laugh, make eye contact, and hold conversations. I might seem funny and really personable. And I am that person. But inside, I'm also hiding a lot of discomforts that come from being autistic. Like many other autistics, I don't really like to make eye contact. But I do it because otherwise I know other people will think I'm not listening to them or that I'm rude. I don't make these rules, but those are the norms of many cultures. I mean, somewhere along the line, it was also assumed that not making eye contact might mean you're lying. So there's a lot that goes into eye contact. Whenever I'm consciously making eye contact for prolonged periods of time, it's a huge effort, and it's when I'm masking my autism. You might say, well, dude, you don't need to do that. But I grew up for decades being told that I need to make eye contact to show I'm listening. It's kind of ironic though, because the eye contact actually distracts me from listening fully. But I've learned to adapt and mask. Now, I know I'm not the only autistic out there who is great at masking when needed, but I'm exhausted after. And since I was diagnosed and I finally realized there was a reason that these situations drained me so much, it's been both a blessing and a curse. I noticed the effort that I once was masking all the time more. So I feel really tired afterwards and need recovery time. In the past, I might have pushed myself to keep going. Go to another social event that weekend, even though I prefer to curl up in bed and hide. Keep going, keep masking, because that's what's normal. But now I know it's not because there's something wrong with me that I'm so tired. It's because I'm working hard to mask, and I usually am doing it well enough that no one would even know I'm autistic unless I told them. And this, my friends, is the first reason that many autistic adults go unnoticed. Autism is invisible. Now, this might seem obvious, but I think it bears repeating. Most of the time, autism is not something you can see. Autistics don't look a certain way or have markings on our faces that let you know we're autistic. It's a neurological difference, which means it's basically all happening in our brains. For many autistic adults who have gone undiagnosed, there are probably very few outward signals. We don't really walk differently. We don't look different. There are no physical distinguishing characteristics. So a lot of the time, there's no way to tell that someone is autistic because it's invisible. What isn't invisible is sometimes the stimming or meltdowns that come because of overstimulation. But our autistic brains are churning way before any of that shows outwardly. The fact that we like routines or have difficulty with change isn't something most people would ever notice. But if you know someone well that likes to wear the same outfits a lot and might gravitate toward more comfortable attire, or gets a little bit grumpy because of sudden changes being sprung on them, like a last-minute meeting, or avoid small talk in the break room, it could be because there's a lot happening in their brains. It doesn't always mean they're autistic, but it is a possibility because autism is invisible. And because it's invisible and all happening inside autistic brains, it's easy for it to go undetected, especially in adults. But that's not even the whole story. Many undiagnosed autistics have high IQ. Part of how many undiagnosed adult autistics have gone unnoticed for so many years is because they have very high IQ and have figured out ways to adapt. They may not even realize they're autistic, but they have noticed where they struggle and have figured things out. This is possible because many are smart and have average or above average intelligence. According to Dr. Thomas Brown in 2023, at least 2/3 of autistics, particularly those with high IQ, also have attention deficit disorder. This means many autistics are both smart and have really busy brains. We are constantly thinking, So we figured out shortcuts to things, especially ways to adapt to society and hide our autism, even before we were diagnosed. For me, I used my brain to be my own boss by starting a company. Deep down, I knew I would never really be satisfied with working for someone else, especially in a field where I felt I could do better. So I figured out a way and have now started multiple companies. While I've never taken an IQ test, I'm pretty smart and adaptable. Thank you very much. And I did all this long before I knew I was autistic. I knew I needed to work and make a living, but I also knew I was struggling with the structures of other workplaces. So I made my own. There are other autistic people you've heard of that have high IQ, but going undetected until or through adulthood is next level ninja work. So science is catching up, but many autistics will still be flying under the radar because of being smart and adaptable and able to blend in when we want to. Like I said, ninjas. But there are still other reasons why autistic adults go undetected. We adapt and figure out our own ways or have help behind the scenes. Like I just said, many autistic adults that go unnoticed have figured out how to adapt in their own unique ways. That said, sometimes that means finding ways to do it ourselves or getting help behind the scenes from family or a partner. We can do a lot, but there are certain things that are extra challenging, and what those things are might be different for each person. For me, I find it really, really hard to manage time. If I didn't have reminders from my phone with alarms, I wouldn't know the day of the week or what time I had my appointments. I've also adapted by not overscheduling myself, but not everyone can do that. I also have a hard time remembering the days of the week. I ask my wife Debbie before bed and in the morning to remember. Then I know my routines based on the day. But we go over the schedule each night before bed and sometimes again when I wake up. And sometimes again after I brush my teeth. And maybe also during and after breakfast. Maybe. I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe. Because I can't tell you everything. Because a ninja doesn't give away all of his secrets. Anyway, going over my schedule regularly is a way I adapted long before I even knew I was autistic. Another thing I have figured out, with some help, is paying bills. I hate paying bills. I absolutely hate paying bills. And I hate paying bills because I have way more other important things to think about. So I've set up automatic transfers or scheduled alarms for when I need to pay them. And my wife Debbie handles a few of the bills. Most of the bills. Possibly all of the bills. We work well as a team. But you'd never know that I struggle with this unless you got to know me really, really well. And that is again an example of how autistics adapt and continue to have their autism go unnoticed. Other ways I've adapted is by avoiding things I don't like, such as eating out at restaurants. Most people who I would eat with also know I have stomach problems, so this is a perfect reason to not go out to eat very often. Do they also know that this is because I want to avoid the sensory overload of a restaurant? Well, they'd only know if I decided to share it with them. But I've adapted so I rarely go out to eat, especially at places I don't know. I meet people for coffee or ask to order delivery at my office instead. So just know that autistic adults have figured out all kinds of ways to go unnoticed by adapting well to all kinds of situations, even around people who know us well. But that's not even the top reason that autistic adults go unnoticed. That's coming a little bit later. Autistics often internalize struggles and cope in ways you can't see. So even though I've adapted and figured many things out as an autistic, I'll be the first to say that being autistic comes with its own set of struggles. Sometimes it just sucks. But if someone doesn't want you to see it, you rarely will. Autistics, especially those who are undiagnosed or high masking, often internalize the struggles and will cope in ways you can't see. One example is hiding stimming in ways that seem more socially acceptable. Stimming is an important part of being autistic because it helps us regulate what's happening internally. But we might not be in a place where we can rock or do the type of stimming we want without drawing a lot of attention to ourselves. So instead, I might fidget with a pen or a rubber band on my wrist. Or I might tap my leg or wrist quietly. I also might pretend I dropped something, and on the way back up, I might quietly whisper in Debbie's ear, "Shy, I'm shy." Later, when I get home in my safe spot, I might need some more time to unwind. But this isn't even the way we often internalize our struggles the most. Many high masking and unnoticed autistics deal with lots and lots of anxiety. And more research really needs to be done on this. I have a lot of anxiety from past experiences. But again, anxiety is mostly something below the surface that you can't see. But it can tear us apart internally and lead to a lot of stress at home. A day where I have to hide that a lot and also as masking a lot could lead to a meltdown at home without much warning. And that's no fun. No, psycho. Nobody closes their eyes and wishes for a meltdown to happen. Trust me. But realistically, non-autistic people sometimes get upset too and might react in a way that looks a lot like a meltdown. So this is still a spot where autism still might go undetected in an adult. Lack of awareness from non-autistics. And here it is. My number one reason that autistic adults go undetected is a real lack of awareness for many non-autistics. So here's why. First, most neurotypical people have no idea what to look for when it comes to autism. There doesn't seem to be one way that autism looks that helps medical professionals know, definitely autism. Especially with adults who often don't even realize how different their neurology is compared to other people. Realistically, scientists and doctors are still learning. And the fact that autism occurs so often with other medical conditions makes it even harder. Plus, the symptoms can overlap with many other things like anxiety, depression, OCD, bipolar, and so on. There's also a lot of stigma attached to autism, and this even happened for me. I didn't really understand autism, but I thought I did before my diagnosis. And that's why I thought, nope, that doesn't seem like me. I am definitely not autistic. But I am autistic, and I've always been autistic. So I wonder how better awareness could have helped me or my loved ones around me see this earlier. I also think there's a growing number of autistic therapists out there, but more information directly from autistics needs to be shared with medical professionals. This could help so much more with understanding autism. I saw about a dozen therapists and psychiatrists before I was correctly diagnosed with autism. And when I look back on those experiences with all of those different medical professionals, they sucked. They caused more harm than good. Now, I will say things are definitely improving, but a lot of people still have outdated ideas from movies or TV shows that show fairly extreme autistic representations of what autism looks like. And in reality, a lot of autistic adults look and act pretty normal, like me. So that's why I think a lack of awareness about autism from non-autistics is the number one reason that autistic adults go unnoticed. So what do you think of this list? Is there anything you would add or change? And if you're a late diagnosed adult, why do you think your autism went unnoticed? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And please share to help spread awareness and understanding of autism, especially for adults. Ninja's secret weapon? Purple Needle Cube. This one's a good one because it's a little bit firmer than my pink one. And it's quite a bit firmer than my blue one. Let me prove. Want to see some ninja skills? Needle power.